At the time, this is about 14 years ago, I was working on a seismic survey vessel. We were towing these streamers. There's 8 long, they're 6 kilometers long. And we're working for, I was working for Schlumberger, and we were working for the Indonesian oil company, surveying the Java Sea, looking for oil. And I kept thinking, wow, how shallow this ocean was, this sea was, and knowing that the ice age, during the ice age, the sea levels were much, much lower, that this was dry land, and I started to think about it, you know, and about the mythology of Lemuria and Atlantis and all that, you know. And I thought, my God, you know, the period, I mean, 12,000 years, it's not a long time. That's when the ice age ended, you know. It's not that long in geological terms. And I thought there must have been, I tried to imagine what it would have looked like during the ice age, where we're now sailing over the top of this, you know. What was it like there, 60 meters below? Was it steppes of grasslands? Was it jungle? Was it, were there rivers flowing there? What was the rainfall like? I started imagining, trying to piece together what that area would have looked like, and I became fascinated. And when I put the two together, when I looked around the world, this is by far the best place for early civilization to have found, to be founded. So I then approached some of the geeks down in the instrument room. I was chief officer at the time, and I got them all fired up about this idea. And then we started devising ways of reading the data. We started siphoning off the first 50 meters off the top of in seismic you send a shock wave into the seabed, which can penetrate up to 2,000 meters down below the seabed, and comes back and reflects all the stratas to the microphones, tiny microphones all the way along these streamers. There's an actual gun, a high pressure air gun that goes off underwater every 8 seconds. The whole ship shakes, boom. You get used to it. It's like a heartbeat after a while. At first, it's very disturbing. You can't sleep properly. But after a while, you ignore it. Anyway, we devised with these geeks, you know, these computer nerds, ways to. I wished I could reenact it. Some of these guys with their frizzy hairs and wild eyes. They lived out in this. They call it the instrument room. And in no time at all, they were all enthused about it, and we set up a little workshop, and we were taking this data and reading it. But unfortunately, the areas that were of interest to the oil companies weren't interesting for archaeology, and it was frustrating me. But I decided to approach the oil companies and ask them if they could give me their tapes from previous surveys and let me go through them and take the first 50 meters off and see what's there. But no, they wouldn't let me. And I was warned also, what you're doing is illegal, stop doing it. So I had to find another way. And so but what triggered it was the discovery of that underwater city in India. It didn't surprise me at all. And as a matter of fact, once again, coincidence, we were at that time doing a seismic survey off the Indian coast. And I actually heard the radio communications. I was just over the horizon from the Bay of Cambay, where this city was found. Unbelievable coincidence. Once again, it was the same vessel. And there they were talking about what they'd found there, you know. Word was getting around among the oil and gas there. The NIA Institute is a government, Indian government body, and they were tasked with surveying the Bay of Cambay in preparation for a massive dam they were going to put across the wide mouth of it. And they were going to use tidal differences. There's huge tides there, 10, 12 meters. And they were going to make electricity with tidal turbines. So that was the purpose of them going in there. And in the process of surveying the area and doing pollution surveys and all kinds of stuff, they stumbled across these formations on the seabed that didn't look natural. And on close inspection, they proved to be the leftover of ruined buildings like foundations, roads and buildings. The current there is very strong and it's muddy water, so it's a difficult, very, very difficult site to just dive down there. Like you can imagine, if you've got a tidal race of something like 8 knots, 6 to 8 knots, because the tidal difference between high and low is something like 12 meters during full moon and new moon. Therefore, you can imagine how the water's going in and out, and the mud is stirred up, right? So it's been difficult. And the Indian government is a little bit xenophobic in that it didn't want international participation in this excavation, investigation of the Bay of Cambay. So it's a very slow process. They're only budgeting very small amounts of money into this. But we did go over there, we talked to the people. We went over twice. We saw the artefacts that have been brought up so far. I'm satisfied that there's something there. I also believe there's another city off the coast in Karachi in Pakistan, where the Indus River reached the edge of the continental shelf. There, I think, is a river mouth city. But going into Karachi now, in the present climate, would be a very risky business. And I don't think that they'd even give you the permission to do it. So I've got that on the back burner. But one day I'd like to go there and find it. There's a lot of stuff underwater. We're just beginning to look there. We're looking more into space than we are looking underneath. There's much to be discovered. I'm quietly confident there's something here, and hopefully the problem I had when I first started to talk about this idea of possible lost city or cities here in this region, it was considered a pretty lunatic thing, But I'm very pleased to note that now nobody calls you a lunatic anymore for saying something like this. There's actually quite a lot of support. It's just new ideas take time. People have to think about it for a while and then, throw it around a bit this way, could it be that way? And then after a while they're, yeah, why not? It is possible that there is something here. So I'm quietly confident that the moment is approaching where we could mount a major expedition and do a comprehensive sonar survey of the Java Sea.